Appreciate that. And yeah, we're unique in Europe in that we are still the same population by and large that has endured for 2,500 years here. So we're an enduring people. But we have a problem with that in that we're also a tolerant people because we've been enduring too much. And sometimes when we see the problem, we say, okay, tell us how bad it's going to be, and we're going to start enduring it. Well, here's a man who didn't endure it. Here's a man who didn't tolerate it. Here's Brian Brew. And so what he did was he had a problem. He had a problem with the kind of arrivals that did it all the wrong way. You know, they arrived with a vision for conquest, you know, and they would not integrate because that wasn't the plan. The plan was to conquer. And they were the Vikings, they were the Norse, they were pagan. And you know, not much changes. We think that that's so long ago and so different. You know, when you study into the history, when you put on the gear that they wore, when you listen to their stories, it's the same thing. And this is just another round of what we've been through. And the same kind of things when you delve into the history, and often the history is hidden because the story is too true and nobody wants to hear it. So I tell you, one of the things about the Vikings is there was actually a bit of sympathy for the Vikings at the time. They were considered the poor hunted ones, and to some degree you could call them that they were at the bad end of the bargain, because the Christian king, the Holy Roman Empire, had an encounter with Islam at the Battle of Tours, and he defeated them. He stood, and that affected Ireland directly. He stood, Martel the Hammer, stood like a wall against the people. He trained his men. He took all the money for the churches, for the army, and he held the Moors in Tours. But he learned something which was a bit of a problem, because what he learned was that you could force people to convert or die. And us Irish had a different kind of Christianity. We were intellectual. We were thoughtful. We gave people choice. We didn't have many martyrs because we didn't have a whole lot of conflict. But here came all this stuff from the conflicts with Islam. And what did the Holy Roman Empire do to the Saxons and the Vikings up there? They went and did convert or die to them. And at Verdun, I think there was thousands of Saxons put to the sword because they wouldn't convert. They wanted to stay pagan. So there was a bit of sympathy for those poor Vikings when they arrived. And a person could say, well, see those Christians? They deserve it, you know? They deserve it. You know, for all they've done to these poor people, they don't deserve peace. They don't deserve to keep things the way they are because they're bad. They're bad, and they deserve this Viking invasion, you know? And we hear it all the time. It's almost as if we deserve to end the whole, what's the name, the Extinction Rebellion. You know, you don't deserve to live. You know, we hear this, and that's possibly what they could have been hearing back then. But Brian Brew would have none of it. He wasn't going to tolerate the slave traders taking young children and women. He wasn't going to tolerate the pagans. He wasn't going to tolerate the murder and the rape. You know, he decided that he was going to aggressively pursue these Vikings. He wasn't going to tolerate them in Limerick. And the kings wanted to tolerate them because they brought trade. The same old thing. Money. From all around, as far as the Middle East, as far as the Silk Road, as far as China. we were getting imports into Ireland at the time. And the Vikings were considered a great idea, but not by Brian Boru. And Brian Boru pursued them in Limerick. He aggressively followed a campaign against them. His brother died at the hand of the Vikings. But in the end, he overcame. He challenged them and he won. And he preserved his Christianity. He pushed back the pagans. He would not accept well, I've forgotten the name for them, but they were not. And in these modern times, there's a push by all the universities to say, oh, wasn't the Vikings such a great thing? And the ordinary men and women of the country, the Irish, identify, because they don't identify with their Christian heritage. They want to be pagan warriors. They want to be lawless men. And that's the ideology of our time. But Brian Boru held to his Christianity and his culture, and he pursued it. And you would be tempted to say, oh, look at all these people coming in. Look at Islam. We'll never change them. They'll always be the way they are. But Brian Boru didn't do that. Eben Thranholm isn't doing that. She's saying, preach Jesus. These people need Jesus. Christianity is free. Christianity has conscience. Christianity is better. That's why everybody wants to live here. That's why people want to live in countries where there has been a Christian heritage, where it has been built on Christianity. And our national Christianity, our Christian nationalism, is what won us this country. Secularism cannot get us. Secularism cannot get us off our asses. Christian nationalism is what motivates people. This is what you see here. This is what will win our country back. This is what we will preach to Islam. You know, this is what they will understand. And at the end of it all, what happened here? This is the end of the story, here in Swords. And I understand this might be a little bit hard. I've started going back to my local Catholic church after being in a whole load of places, and as soon as they see me come in the door, they'll be straight up into the choir. So I've always got a seat, you know. I've been in all kind of Christian groups, so I've tried to develop Celtic Christianity in a big way. But it doesn't matter. And some people may find this a little bit hard to hear, especially if they're very traditional Catholics, that the Church of Patrick and Columkill, actually all the civic institutions of Europe had broken down. So we didn't have a direct route to Rome. Our bishops weren't appointed by Rome, they were appointed by the local kings, and we paid money to our local churches. So something different happened in the 12th century, that connection was made back to Rome, and it was made here. And would you believe who were the people who were the first to make that connection back to Rome? Who were the people who were the people to establish the Archdiocese of Dublin here? The Archbishopric of Dublin. They were there. His name was Sitrick Silkenbeard. And that's a funny kind of a name for an Irishman, because he was a Viking. But he was a Viking Christian, you know. In the end, Brian Boru and the monks preached. They didn't accept the rape. They didn't accept the slave trading. They didn't accept that all that these people could bring us, the merchants, the silk from China, was good enough. They asserted their own authority over the Vikings, and after 200 years, the Vikings accepted it. They became Christians, they married with us, and they became us. And that's what we do. And that's a successful integration. But it took us to stand up for ourselves. It took us to stop tolerating things, to stop accepting and enduring things. It took us to assert ourselves like Brian Boru did. And Citric Silkenbeard, who was he inherited the Kingdom of Dublin after Brian Boru had defeated the Norse. They came here under the Irish lords and carried on their trading, but he established the Diocese of Dublin, and the Dublin Vikings were in fact the first proper Roman Catholics to have their bishops appointed directly from Rome. So this is the story of Brian Boru and the Vikings, and how it started off as a bad invasion. It started off with people having sympathy to some degree with these pagans for how the Christians had treated them, feeling that somehow we deserved to be treated badly because we were such terrible people. But we didn't accept that. You know, we asserted ourselves, we fought, we pushed back, and in the end, the thing that that built us and made us, our Irish Christianity, our Irish culture, became the culture of the people who came here to destroy us. So, like Eben Threnholm says, keep preaching, keep believing in ourselves. Do not accept that we have to endure. Do not accept that we have to adopt all these things. Do not accept the multicultural supremacy. Do not accept multicultural supremacy. You know, we are not. What is supreme in Ireland is the Irish Constitution. You know, we won this over many, many generations. And we are unique in Europe in that we have always endured. And that the people that were here 2,500 years ago are the same independent people who occupy this land. You know, and that's unique. And that's our challenge now, because we've conceded something. We've conceded something to Europe, which we never conceded before. We have become part of an empire again. And that's our challenge now, to assert ourselves and not to accept, you know. So, thanks very much, guys. I hope I didn't go on for too long, you know. But we're going to sing a hymn, a Christian Irish hymn that features battle shields, high towers, high kings. And it's a great anthem of a song. So we'll go for it. I'll lead out. We're going to have to get the key right for this, lads. So, yeah, I might. I'll work on the key here now while we work on the wires.
You're all probably frozen.
Yeah.